Okay.
Gosh, this is our like the finale.
Yeah, we're already at the finale. That's awesome.
It's track 18. I don't know if it's actually gonna be number 18, but on my list it's 18 today. It's not a game, it's just a ride, which is sort of our usual sort of power medleys.
Yeah, power medleys, and it has a little bit of kind of Karnak. To go it goes on for it's quite a this takes you on quite a sonic journey.
It's an experience. It's
so you have kind of you've got the Jane Doe. I mean, I guess spoiler alerts because you've already, assuming that you're watching this, you have some interest in the show and you are familiar with what happens in it. So of course Jane Doe kind of gets resurrected, turns into Penny Lamb, right? And
musically, we had some serious challenges in the studio on this one because, again, we're recording this whole album with Scott's in New York, Tiffany's in Denver, Chaz is in Nashville, Emily and Lillian are in Chicago, Jacob and Brooke and Colby are in Victoria, and our most of our studio work is in Victoria as well.
And so all of our amazing kind of what do they call it? The kind of
the background singers, the local vocals or whatever, the ghost choir.
Ghost choir, and they did a kick-ass job because honestly, I can't tell that it's not the other kids. I mean, and that's the funny thing is, I mean, with great choral singing, it's the fact that you don't notice things, right? Like you don't notice a voice in the choir, right? They all blend perfectly, and of course, all of them are killer musicians in their own right. The local vocals, so
so that was great, and great musicians. So we were really fortunate to have all those, but obviously the technology and remote studios and getting to people to pre-record things. So in the show, if you've had a chance to see it, there's a point. We can say what happens to Karnak, right?
Yeah, everything.
Karnak explodes or dies, or he stops anyways. And the kids who had been thinking they were in his world, and once he's gone, they don't know what it is. So they're sort of in this frightened stage post explosion, and then they start singing on stage. They would start singing a cappella tentatively, all together, but with no time, like no tick, 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 no tempo coming through. So the band would have to follow them and make it all come together. So recording that remotely, my gosh, was such a challenge because they were all in separate spots. So we had to have a track which they would record to. Which they did. But then when we actually got their audio in the studio, sorry, I'm nerding out here, but audio in the studio, they were all perfectly in time and singing ensemble-y in time, which wasn't vulnerable, and we needed it to be vulnerable. It needed to be tentative. So we had to do some real quick rearranging of that, of just gradually building in that. So it's that section where we're just sailing through space with like 2 voices or 3 voices. But that was a real just one of the many challenges of recording remotely.
How was the recording? I mean, now I know. Because it was all recorded in the studio, so you didn't get because it's funny because I just directed a show where we ended up having to do the whole thing on Zoom, and you told me and you warned me, but I learned it the hard way that there's a 2-second delay on Zoom. So while I was listening to what was hearing on Zoom, I had the actor in front of me, and he was always 2 seconds ahead of the recording.
Oh gosh,
but I guess with this one, everyone had a different recording studio, and kind of it was like pretty amazing. Oh, also the great Rachel Rockwell's son is does he play on this track too, Jake?
No, he played on Sugar Cloud at the end there. This is Jake Helm, and also on Space Age Bachelor Man, he's the crazy guitar solo on there. And I think he also engineered the sessions.
He recorded Lily, all the Chicago crew, Lillian and Emily.
That was really sweet. Not just sweet. He did a great job. It was awesome.
Fantastic job. He's like super awesome. So this one kind of, so we got the parts of Jane Doe comes back to life, Karnak dies. We go into a kind of, which I think is cool, and I think we should keep that. If you do this production, I think you should keep that ascending scale thing. I like the way he dies on this album.
Oh yeah.
And then then Brooke's talking about the kind of, there's that kind of, is that rubato? The kind of,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's no time.
So it's all off the singers. The issue is that it has to plug into a huge sound near the end when it goes into It's Just a Ride, right?
Yeah.
And then it goes into kind of marching band, kind of, I think that initially that was also a Rachel thing because she listened to, because you did 1,000 different versions of this song. And this is the one she liked the best, right?
Yeah, I remember seeing, gosh, well, that was maybe 8 years ago, 10 years ago. There was a band, hopefully they're still around, called OK Go.
Yeah,
and they had a great song. I think This Too Shall Pass, and the video for that was so fun with the marching band. And those guys are heavy duty. But yeah, so it was kind of just to see that much exuberance. And it's funny because we're in Canada here, West Coast, and marching bands are not a part of our culture, but we see it as tourists on television or whatever, and go, it's like, it's just so fun and joyful and has so much character to it. You know, there's Beatles overtones too. It makes me think of Sgt. Pepper's. They're all in those.
Yeah, but suits, but a high school marching band, but which ironically is or is not really a thing in Canada. Really, I think. I mean,
no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe in Toronto because there's a little bit of a football scene, but I always find it's quite married to a specific sport, right? Which is football.
But wouldn't you want that at your funeral? I mean, like like the most exuberant, youthful, vibrant, and even in its imperfections, it's and
it is the kind of it totally like when it kind of like blasts in like that OK Go song. It's just so life affirming. Right?
Yeah, I know what you were talking about with Rachel too. Sorry, now I'm getting it. That whole sailing through space section. When we were workshopping that, we had the first section, It's Just a Ride, that thing, and then the sailing through space section, which occurred earlier. We were really trying. She was in love with Supertramp, and I'm in love with Supertramp. So we really spent a fair bit of time. I went away and wrote a couple sort of Supertrampy influenced kind of things, and that was one of the ones that really stuck, and the harmonies really worked. And it just sounds so good. It sounds so cool to hear it a cappella in the rehearsal room too, because those singers are just killing it, and little moving harmonies. And
because you wrote that whole section in Chicago, because we didn't have that in the Canadian version. And then you say we do space, and I think we've gotten that one in the first version in Chicago, but we didn't have the reprise until New York.
I think that's right. I think
right.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so super fun, and it just felt like a lovely way to end the show on a big
like and just kind of, and not like fight that kind of the need to have like just a big exclamation point at the end of the evening. Big exclamation point, because I mean initially we had a more subdued ending, like very like I'd just say like a little bit more of a question mark and everything like that. But
well, that's actually on the album too. That's going to be one of the tracks coming up.
A later track, we'll talk about that one in a bit. But this is go on this little journey. Probably the staging would help. This is why it's a play, right? You know what I mean? That might help you with a little bit of the storytelling. Because it's, you go, what's happening here, right? You know what I mean? But okay, so Jane comes back to life, Karnak dies, kids are like, holy shit, we're in this purgatory world, if he's dead, aren't we dead, or yada yada yada. They come to terms with it, and then they just go, screw it, let's
ride it out.
Let's be comfortable with the kind of the big question mark, but let's just go forward and be excited, right? Sweet. Cool.
Anyways, enjoy it.
Enjoy.